Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. 2001 blessed us with many great films that today are considered classics. From Monsters Inc. to Shrek to the beginning of the successful and widely beloved Harry Potter franchise. We got Black Hawk Down, we got Donnie Darko, A Beautiful Mind.
Sensational.
And even one of the GOATs, Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. I'm not worthy. Vanzan. But one movie, in my opinion, that is absolutely underrated and all but forgotten, the sci-fi post-apocalyptic creature feature, Reign of Fire.
Good luck. We found out where they started. We're going to London. Vertical one up. Go! Each other!
Reign of Fire.
Just wait until you hear who's starring in it. Christian Bale, Matthew McConaughey, and Gerard Butler. We even get a little cameo from Jack Gleeson, who played King Joffrey in Game of Thrones. He also shows up in Batman Begins, so I'm not sure if he's like Christian Bale's nephew or something, but that boy has been getting cameos in Bale films like it's going out of fashion. Directed by Rob Bowman, the man who gave us the masterpiece, which is Elektra. I know, that movie is hot garbage, but I promise you, this is good. This is a good movie. He did produce a lot of the X-Files, which obviously people love that series, so, you know, that's a win in his column. Written by Matt Greenberg, Greg Chabot, and Kevin Peterka.
I said forget about it, cuz.
They had the desire to make a movie that centers around grounding a mythical creature that could biologically and realistically live in the real world. And I've got to say, what a great original idea. In today's era of remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels, franchises, legacy sequels, I see this movie as a beacon of old Hollywood that would actually, you know, give something original a crack. The only way this would happen now is if it was like a modern retelling of the Game of Thrones franchise or just another movie to absolutely butcher Jurassic Park's legacy. The only genre I can really relate this back to would be zombie apocalypse movies. The film is set in 2020s, the film is set in 2020, 20s England, 2020 England. The film is set in 2020 in England, and if we're being honest, if you look at London, how it looks now, it doesn't look that different compared to how London looks in this movie. 18 years after a London underground tunneling project accidentally awakens dragons from centuries of slumber, our main character Quinn is the first person who even sees these dragons. His mum's like the project lead on this underground tunneling project, so, you know, good for her. It's good to see women in high places of power.
Hell no.
But the creatures have replaced humans as the dominant species on the planet. With the fate of mankind at stake, two parties led by Quinn, Christian Bale, and Vanzan, yes, that's right, his name is Vanzan, who is played by McConaughey, find they must work together to destroy the creatures and save mankind. But a bit of context to this film and my history with it. I used to watch this absolutely religiously as a child. I was obsessed with a few things when I was a kid. Ratchet and Clank, crocodiles, and dragons. So much so that now my favorite band is actually Imagine Dragons. No. Can you imagine me dragging my nut? As I revisited this film as I grew older and wiser, now that I'm a man grown, you would maybe suspect that I grew tired of this movie, maybe thought it was stupid, maybe thought it was not highbrow enough. You'd be wrong. This is still a banger. But what shocked me was to see that this had pretty middling reviews and a really underwhelming performance at the box office. And I can't fathom why. We literally get a jacked Christian Bale and Matthew McConaughey fighting dragons. What more could you ask for, honestly?
Well, technically, they're actually wyverns.
Yeah, shut your mouth, you little fool. I'm gonna dance on your head.
Quinn has a settlement in the English countryside. He's maybe got 100 or so people in his group, a lot of them being children. And at this point in the movie, they're not even sure if there's anyone else alive left in the world. They've lost contact with all the other settlements in their area. The radios have gone quiet and they're just trying to survive. We get this scene early on with Quinn and his best friend, who's played by Gerard Butler. His name's Creedy. They're putting on a performance for all the kids before bedtime. They're basically retelling Empire Strikes Back, in particular the scene where, you know, Luke, I am your father. Sorry for the spoilers. But this is like exactly what I would do if I was in this situation. Just go through my mind of all my favorite movies and retell them to children as if I was some sort of creative genius. You know, you got to do what you got to do. I can just imagine these kids would be like, how the fuck does this guy think of all this shit? I would be like a shaman of storytelling and maybe even charge money and become like the most rich man in this desolate wasteland. It's a good business idea. What can I say? We're shown early on that Quinn's people are basically unable to fight back. They're pretty much just trying to survive and outlive the dragons at this point. And I've got to say, it's not looking good.
It's not looking good, bruv.
We learn that after the emergence of these creatures, historians and researchers and scientists all basically banded together to figure out where they came from. And they discover that dragons have been present throughout the years. They are actually the creatures that wiped out the dinosaurs. That's pretty cool. I would love to see the dinosaurs versus dragons movie, not gonna lie. It would satisfy the inner child in me, absolutely. There's not a child inside of me. Don't take that the wrong way. I have not eaten a child. There is not a child inside of me. I mean in a spiritual way. They mentioned a few times that the dragons actually feed on ash. So their life cycle is emerge, multiply, which we learn about that later. Yes, we learn about dragon boning. Scorch the earth and everything that lives on it, feed on the burnt remains, starve for a bit, dabble in a little bit of cannibalism, and then hibernate and wait for the world to rebuild so they can do it again. And I'm not gonna lie, it sounds like a pretty good life. I didn't see anything in there about commuting for an hour to a 9-to-5 job to sit under fluorescent lighting for 8 hours a day. So that's already way better than what I'm doing. And I just really found the lore of these creatures really interesting. I like how they tied them into like historical events.
The question is, who shot JFK?
In the movie as well. And you'll notice that not a lot of things have to make sense as long as they're cool for me. So just keep that in the back of your mind. We also learn how the dragons breathe fire, which is they have 2 glands in their mouth. The word glands is really gross. Oh, my glands are itchy. But those glands spit out 2 different fluids that when combined create an explosion and fire, basically like a napalm. They also show a level of intelligence probably higher than mine.
You stupid.
Where Quinn's crew is under attack by a dragon and it will like cut off escape points and even like target their vehicles so they can't get away. Pretty smart. Jumping back to the plot, when Vanzan's crew shows up at Quinn's front gate.
Only one thing worse than a dragon. Americans.
They explained that they used a rebuilt military plane to fly from America to England. In the process, they crash landed and he lost a bunch of his men, a lot of ammunition, a lot of vehicles. I think it was around 122 men, but it will surprise you that his KD ratio is actually positive because his group have actually killed hundreds of dragons at this point. Using a newly found weakness. Basically using golden hour is the perfect time to hunt these creatures because it messes with their vision and they grow confused with the low light. So just remember next time you're using golden hour to take all your little selfies that there's people out there using it to kill dragons. So just maybe rethink what you're doing with your time. Get your shit together. Quinn at this point is Vanzan's #1 hater. He doesn't believe a word of what he just said. He even remarks that the sky belongs to them. But then Vanzan delivers like one of the coldest lines I've ever heard in cinema.
Good story. Especially the bit about the plane, but there hasn't been anything in the air for 20 years. That's their territory.
That's my territory. That's your territory. They're just renting it.
Which really gives you insight into his mentality. And right on cue, Vanzan's pilot shows up in a helicopter. Quinn is fucking mouth agape at this point. He can't believe that something else is in the sky besides these creatures. His pilot's name is Alex, sort of like me, but a girl. Right after that, we get an action scene because a dragon shows up. And we get a little bit of insight into how these guys kill dragons. Basically what they do, it's silly, but it's cool. It's cool. I promise it's cool, but it is silly, but in a cool way. Basically, they'll fly the helicopter up into the clouds, and then 3 people will jump out of the helicopter with wingsuits on, and they use a grenade launcher to fire metal nets at the dragon's wings, hopefully tangling them up and making them plummet to the ground. And I say hopefully because it doesn't exactly go to plan. Vanzan ends up using Quinn as bait to lure the dragon towards him and using a harpoon gun to kill it. Maybe that should have been the plan from the start, but wouldn't have got a really cool extreme sports moment that you need in every early 2000s movie. Quinn's group is like blown away at this point. They haven't seen a dragon dead probably ever, so they're partying, they're having a great time. But I'll put this in some Gen Alpha language for you. Vanzan proceeds to mog Quinn's group with his dragon hunter maxing skills and remind them that he's got more ice in his veins than Prime Kobe.
Still to be happy about.
You're up too old.
Job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
I will say I've seen some criticism of Christian Bale's and Matthew McConaughey's acting in this movie, and I kind of can't disagree more. Don't get me wrong, they weren't going to win any Oscars from these performances. But I really think the natural screen presence and intensity that Bale and McConaughey offer really elevates this movie. That, accompanied by some really great practical effects and special effects, really elevates this film from what could have easily been B-movie slop. Similar to like Arnold and The Predator, those practical effects accompanied by Arnold just make that movie go from something that could have been an absolute disaster. But similar to this, just elevates it and makes it really fun and really good. Vanzan then teaches Quinn about where babies come from, specifically dragon babies. They work similar to fish. Basically, there's one male in the area that fertilizes all the female eggs. What a stud. And the male is much larger than the female dragons, which makes him the apex predator. So basically, if they can kill the male, they can stop the species from multiplying. They'll slowly die out before they can finish their life cycle. So Quinn, all those years ago, was there when a male was woken up and a bunch of female dragons, and they multiplied from there. After a failed recruitment drive from Vanzan to go and kill the male, Quinn's settlement is all but destroyed with only a few survivors remaining, and Creedy actually dies as well. Basically, Vanzan pisses off the male and he goes and fucking claps Quinn's settlement's cheeks. GG, too easy. Quinn then joins Vanzan and Alex to kill the male. We get the most badass death scene in any film ever. Honestly, I feel like Vanzan was living every little boy's dream. He got to drive around in a tank. He was covered in tats. He was absolutely jacked. And he died fighting a dragon. If that's not peak living, I don't know what is. Quinn kills the male dragon with an explosive arrow, giving what's left of humanity a fighting chance. On a budget of $60 million, which is absolutely baffling to me with the quality of this movie's special effects. I think today, if this movie was being made today, it'd be like a $180 million movie, maybe $200 million. I think even if you adjust for inflation, it's not that high. But Reign of Fire was only able to bring in $84 million worldwide at the box office. The movie was far from a success and a sequel was never greenlit. God damn it. Honestly, I know it sounds stupid, but I can't fathom why this movie wasn't more of a success. The lack of success might be the worst thing that happened in 2001. Greenlight the sequel, you cowards. Please. There's 10 Fast and the Furious movies and we can't get one Reign of Fire sequel? Please do it. I hate prequels, but I'll even settle for a prequel. I don't care. Just give me something. Mr. Bale, I'm talking directly to you now. If you don't make a Reign of Fire sequel in the next 2 years, I'll be very cross with you, and I mean it. The only glimmer of hope we have for another movie is Reign of Fire is starting to build a bit of a cult following, and hopefully something like this will help more people discover it. But that was my review and retrospective of the 2001 absolutely banger movie, Reign of Fire. If there's any other underrated movies that you feel deserve some more attention, let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe, and thank you very much. Bye bye.